Hey, so welcome to my YouTube page. Thanks for listening to another video. In this video, I'd like to talk about imagination, visualization, and correspondences. And before I get into that, I'd like to emphasize the point that I'm hearing from many and seeing a lot in forums that there tends to be almost a level of tenseness and ultra seriousness when it comes to working Bardon's program in initiation into Hermetics and beyond. And it's not that it's not serious work. It is a dense book. All of his books are densely written. There's a lot to them. But I think it's important that we not lose the element of fun in play. I feel like this is an artistic process, a creative process that involves play, that involves fun, that involves working with the elements and gaining new skills and being able to do things that weren't otherwise beforehand in our mind possible. And there is a creative act in it, and that's my dog there in the background, but he is resting in bed right now. His name is Prince, and he knows he's a prince. He acts like a prince. But anyways, with that little aside said, we can move on to imagination and visualization and correspondences. And I think one of the things that can be confusing about these three things is the element of the way they're talked about in normal everyday life. Because in kind of normal everyday speech, or in our age, which is very scientific and materialistic and even skeptical with so much content out there these days, people don't know what to trust, that visualization and imagination can sound like things that aren't true, but you're wishing they're true. You know, you're just imagining it. It's not really happening. You're just visualizing it. It's not really happening. And likewise with correspondences, which are basically a sense of analogies and analogs, that everything has its match everywhere else and is an analog for everything else from the highest level to the lowest level. And of course, in poetry, when you make use of an analogy, it's kind of a poetic device and not necessarily something that's literally true. But in this case, it's literally true. And in the imagination and visualization process, we're going from point A to point B. We're basically manifesting something through our conscious imagination and conscious visualization. I would say the things that aren't true, where people are probably right to discount it in rational thought, is when it's done unconsciously. When, for example, you're imagining the worst case scenario in a situation, or you're visualizing something bad happening, but it's kind of popping up in a way that's not necessarily conscious. That's subconscious. That's an element of fear or worry or concern. And so I think what tends to happen in this process of going through this is the more we focus on imagining and visualizing things, the more our process of doing those things will be brought up from the subconscious to the conscious mind, so that we will begin to automatically, there's a sense of momentum where it will automatically happen that we are imagining and visualizing things and making them such. So it is an element of manifestation, which is a creative act, which is an artistic act. And sure, later on in the process of the Bardon work and the steps, you get to a level of discernment, for instance, with a magic mirror, where, there's the discernment process of saying, did this come from my own mind, or is this coming from the beyond? Am I an antenna on the spirit receiving messages from divine providence after you already know how to create? But when I'm talking about this, it could be helpful to use the example of impregnating water, for instance. Impregnating water with a certain wish, or showering consciously and imagining that you are wiping your soul clean, you're wiping your magic mirror clean, and you're taking in the fresh energy, the vital energy. And that can be something that manifests very quickly, but a certain level of belief in the authenticity and the veracity of Bardon is necessary. Obviously, if you're watching this channel, then Bardon's exercises are important to you, and there's some level of resonance that it's having with you, and I think it's good to go with that level of resonance and trust Bardon's resonance with something that can actually happen through the tools of visualization and imagination. And as far as correspondences going, I think there is a level of abstract thinking to some degree, and also seeing the entire universe as a system, almost as a grid that's laid out, where everything has its analog in some other plane, whether it's the physical, the soul, or the spirit, and it has its analog in also the human being and the macrocosm. So everything from the microcosm, the human being, to the macrocosm, the entire universe, has levels that match up and correspond completely. And it's something that Bardon gives a lot of detailed knowledge of, so you're certainly not going on your own. And I feel like we're always in good hands with Bardon. He's not going to lead us astray. And he exercises caution when it's good to be safe. And that's not like a caution, great fear coming, but that's just to take care of our health first and foremost. And if we need to slow down somewhere in the process, I feel like that is absolutely okay. And also, I want to say one other bit before we close out here, and that's about the importance of having a guru in the Eastern teachings and being in good hands of a guru and not going it alone. And I feel like Bardon can be our guru. I'm not saying to seek out another guru. I'm saying Bardon can be our guru, and we can indirectly benefit from his guidance and his energy from the other side. The Akasha is pretty much, for me, something I feel comfortable calling God, because it is the all in all. And the divine providence is the highest level of the Akasha that resonates with spirit, the deepest level of the human being. So the Akasha, if you want to call it God, it can be prayed to, and Bardon can be petitioned as well. And I certainly don't have any problem calling it that, but if you want to call it the Akasha, then call it the Akasha, or whatever system works for you. And as I will go on in some of the more of the theory before we get into the steps specifically, we're going to be talking about God, religion, and truth. And if you have a religious, mystical connection to a certain religion, I would say go ahead and keep that. The things to avoid are the dogma and the fear of hell and, things like that kind of emerged in Western monotheism. And that's why some of these teachings are put in the category of the occult. They were hidden from the masses. They weren't put out publicly, and they weren't considered canonical with the monotheistic traditions. So occult means hidden. So anyways, hope this gave you some more insight into the process. If you have any questions or comments, or you're interested in receiving any coaching from me, you can always email me at thegraveyardcowboy@gmail.com. And I send many blessings to you and lots of love and strength and stability in this time that we live in now. I feel like it's a time when Bardon's teachings are more important now than ever before, at least in my lifetime. All right. Blessings to all.